Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another session of Jobberman's webinar series. So today we're here again, and we have an amazing topic: workplace etiquette in remote working. I'm sure some of you have been following our events. Jobberman is Nigeria's biggest recruiter of labor, connecting job seekers to employers. And we usually have webinar series where we talk about topical issues. We bring issues of concern to young people. Our goal is to upskill 5 million young Nigerians over the next 5 years. And we've been doing this for the last, we've been doing recruitment for the last 10 years. We have over 2 million, 2.5 million young people in our job seeker database, and we have over 60,000 employers. So what do? Basically, what we do is we know young people have skills they need to learn. We know employers are looking for skills in young people, and not everyone has the skills. In fact, so many young people lack soft skills. So at the Jobberman Youth Engagement Team, our goal is to find young people and give them the skills they need to make progress in their lives, both in the workforce and in other things they'll be doing. So for example, we are saying we are upskilling young people. It's not just to get a job. It could be to start your business. It could be to survive in life. It could be you are changing location. How do you survive? What are the soft skills you need generally to be a successful person? That's what we do in Jobberman. But our core goal is to create opportunities for young people, dignified opportunities, employment in whatever way. So that's what we do at the Jobberman Youth Engagement Team. And we've been doing this for the last 10 years. Now, what is today's session about? Today's session is on workplace etiquette in remote working. So we know the pandemic is out there, there's COVID-19, and so many young people are trying to, are needing to work from home or need to be productive while not being at work or while trying to pivot in their businesses or so many things. So the question is, how can what etiquette do we need to be productive even while working from home? How do we structure our lives? How do we structure the things we do such that we remain productive? And this program is brought to you in partnership with CITAD. CITAD is a development organization in northern Nigeria, in Kano, Kaduna, and their website is www.citad.org. We are partnering with them to bring this session to you, and you can be sure it's going to be an amazing session. So what are we going to be doing today? We have two key speakers. They are speakers who have a lot of experience in remote working and in generally ensuring there is productivity. So I'll introduce the speakers. We have two speakers. It's going to be a panel session. Then we will take questions. So if you have questions anytime during this event, please drop them in the comment section. You can be sure we will take your questions as much as possible. Also, like we always do, we're going to share the job opportunities available with Jobberman. Like I said earlier, Jobberman is Nigeria's biggest recruitment company. We connect employers to job seekers. So there are jobs on Jobberman every day, every time, every second. So we'll share a few of that with you. Then we'll move on. And that will be it for today. So let me introduce our speakers to you. We have two speakers for today's event. And the first speaker is Precious Adjourney. Precious is the head youth engagement and learning at Jobberman, and she's a very amazing person with a lot of experience in training and development, a lot of experience working with multinationals. So she's going to be giving us a lot of insight into our topic for today, which is workplace etiquette in remote working. Our second speaker for today is the programs coordinator at CITAD, which is our partner organization. CITAD is a development organization very popular in northern Nigeria. So he also has a lot of experience working in IT related industries and also working across the north. So he'll be sharing his experience on how we can ensure productivity even while working remotely with the right etiquette. So let's dive in. What are the questions to be asking? Now, I would give you an insight to some few questions we'll be dealing with today. Oh, Precious, you're very welcome. Precious, you're very welcome. Good afternoon. Precious is can you you hear me, Precious?
Oh, yes, I can. Hi, how are you? I
I'm
think I lost you for a minute, but I'm here now.
good. So, like I was saying, our session for today is a very amazing session. We're talking about workplace etiquette in remote working, and I know you have so much experience with remote working and how to deliver results and the etiquette we need to learn to get that done.
Mhm.
Very amazing to have you as on this session today as an expert, even with Jobberman and generally in the industry. So, before our second speaker
Thank
jumps,
you.
let's sort of do an introduction. Our topic today is around remote working, and we know there is the pandemic out there. So many people unpreparedly have to work from home. And when you are not prepared for something, you probably may not be able to perform as well. So, seeing that you have that kind of experience, what would you say is the definition of etiquette and remote working, the way people should understand it?
Thank you so much for your question, Molalwa. And I like the fact that you talked about people not being prepared. If you're listening to us now, first things first, you have to be prepared for anything, because again, life has a way of excluding the unprepared. So first point, be prepared. And then I'm going to attempt to give a broad definition of what, etiquette is and things like that. Just putting it simply, it's the set of conventional rules that guide behavior in a society. So etiquette does mirror the cultural nuances of a society. So for example, I don't know how many people have heard, if you're in Rome, behave like a Roman, right? There's
Yeah.
a reason why that people say that. If you're in Rome, behave like a Roman. I cannot go to Rome and expect to eat amala and ewedu, right? I might see something different. So and it's very important that we know that it's not about good or bad. It's about what is culturally acceptable in a particular environment. So once you understand that, then you can juxtapose it with workplace ethics. So workplace ethics are the code of conduct that govern an environment. I'll tell you a fun story. One of these your millennials run organizations where I did some consulting. The very first day I went there, I was going to meet the CEO, and I saw a lady on jeans, shorts, and a t-shirt, and I was very confused by that because I had my suit on, and I was prepared to deliver a presentation. And she's like, "Oh no, just sit down, take a cup of coffee," and people are relaxed. They have, where they sleep in the office, and I'm like, "What's going here?" Right? But that's how they behave around there, right? So what's appropriate there might not be appropriate in a bank. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, good. So one key thing she said was culture. The culture that is acceptable within a region. That's for etiquette and also it relates to work. Now, how do we define a modern workplace? So she talked about, you said you went somewhere else and you saw a lady dressed in, I think, a short jeans and it was different to you. So it means that there are probably some things different about a modern workplace. So how would you describe the modern workplace so that we can get an understanding of that here?
That's a very interesting question. And as someone not taken to absolutes, I'm going to give a definition that will require more research, right? So now I've put that caveat. But let me say this. Something that is extremely important now is, well, unconventional. That's what it is. All you have to do is Google, Google. I like the sound of that, and then see a picture of what their office looks like. The things like sleeping pads. If you take that back to the baby boomer generation, they're thinking, what are these millennials doing? And then if you now juxtapose that with what's happening with the Generation Zers, I don't even know the kind of workplaces that they will want to exist in, right? Those born after 2000. So it's very interesting when you start. Yeah, things are changing. People want to be able to, sleep at work. People want to be able to, work has become more fun, more unconventional. And because of all these changes, it's requiring a new kind of thinking. So you cannot no longer be fixed in your thinking to be able to thrive in the modern workplace. The modern workplace is fast-paced. In fact, there's a saying that goes that as soon as an article is published, it's already outdated. That's what's happening now, right? That's what's happening now. So things are changing very fast. It's unconventional, and you need to be thinking very fast as well for you to be able to adapt to what's happening. Yeah, Olaloa is nodding because you knew I'll bring thinking up. There you go.
Yes. So the modern work is fast-paced and unconventional,
Okay.
which means there's
Olaloa, can
a
you
lot
hear
of
me?
innovation. Yes, I can hear you perfectly. So the modern work is fast-paced and unconventional, which means there's a lot of innovation going on. There's so much development in the modern workplace. So now, one key thing we know as is in the modern workplace is remote working. For example, we have so many companies who are fully working from home, some partially. We had Andela just shut down all their offices in Nigeria. So now, in your opinion and from your experience, has remote working come to stay? Generally, what do you think about that? Okay, so the question is, I think probably having some little network issue. As remote working comes to stay? So we know so many organizations have had to work from home, which means because of the pandemic, there's a lot of remote working, right? Now, post-pandemic, because certainly we would come out of this, right? I think all our viewers agree with me that we would come out of this. So we're going to be taking the conversation further to discuss as remote working come to stay. Yes, for example, I worked from home for the last 2 months. I'm at the office now, but we need to know whether this is something that would stay beyond COVID-19, or because yes, we know businesses are going down. So there is so much pressure on the workforce generally. How would this look like post-pandemic, post-COVID-19? What new developments are we going to see? So let me take a few questions. I believe from what Precious has said, there are a few questions. I can see she talked about culture when she was trying to define etiquette, the culture that is acceptable in a geographical zone. And she also talked about workplace ethics. So what are your questions or your insights or your opinions on workplace ethics, culture, and also the modern workplace? Are you working somewhere that is different from the average workplace? Is there something you want to share with us about your workplace that you think is really amazing and you want other people, other employers to emulate it? So let's take comment questions around the modern workplace. I'm sure we have so many young people on this call, on this event, and you all are working in different places. So just tell us one or two things about where you work and something you think we should share. Okay, I'm following. Any comments? Okay, remote working has come to stay. I go to the office only on Thursdays, except for days I need to visit the field. Now, good, that's an example. But now, is this because of the pandemic or post-pandemic? You think you will still work from home majorly? So that's the analysis we're trying to do. Are we doing this because we don't have a choice? And after the pandemic, would we have to go back to our conventional working from the office, or would work from home majorly? That's the question. Also, where you work, are there innovations, things that have been introduced to the workplace that you think is the modern workplace? She talked about millennials being young people born between the 1980s and 2020. Yes, what are the introductions or the things we have introduced to the workplace that fit this group of people? Because they are going to make up majority of the workforce over the next 10 years, 20 years at least. So what are the features of the modern workplace? Let's engage. Any questions, any comments, any ideas for features of the modern workplace? I'm in the comment section. So if you have any insights, let's discuss. Okay, let me take you further. Let me just even give some of my insights to this. So I think remote working is actually going to continue. For example, in our last webinar series, the last session we had, we had a session with Deborah Williams of Red on leadership and business sustainability. And one of the key things he talked about was the fact that the new workplace has so many millennials. And one thing millennials crave for is flexibility. So he said, even for them as a company, 5 years ago, they started remote working, right? So, which means that because of the realities of the pandemic, more companies are going to work remotely. So that should be an insight for those of us watching. As job seekers, as young people, remote working is imminent. So what are the things I can do to be more valuable in the world of remote working, right? Good. I think we lost you for a few minutes. So I was just trying to talk about our last session on leadership and business sustainability, where Deborah Williams talked about the fact that they had started practicing remote working as far back as 5 years ago. And with the present pandemic, how do we see the future? Is it going to be so much of remote working, or we'll still return back to our conventional work?
Thank you so much for that question. It's a very good one. I've heard a lot of saying around returning back to work. I'm going to give an example, as I'm wont to do. 3 weeks ago, I had to complete a course for, a training, right? And I had so much on my plate, and my assumption was I would not be able to finish everything. In fact, I was going to turn it down. However, I decided to challenge myself, and I finished everything. And the minute I did that, at 4 a.m. in the morning, sitting on this desk, one realization hit me. I am never going back to normal. Now that I've been able to do this, now I know I can even do more, because my brain has been taught something different. So when people say returning to normal, let me tell you what's happening now. Organizations are learning that we can stay at home and we can work very well. That's one. Organizations are learning that they can save costs. You don't need that big office in Lekki or that big office somewhere. You don't probably need an overbloated workforce for you to remember the reason why organizations exist, right? To maximize shareholder value, isn't it? That's why they exist. So shareholders are sitting down and looking at the numbers. You're hitting your numbers at home. If we cut costs here, cut costs here. So my suspicion is that remote working has come to stay. And when you even think about it though, for a lot of us in Africa, we're playing catch up. But people have been working remotely, like Deborah Williams said, as far back as maybe even 20 years ago, right? So it's not necessarily new in that sense. But now we are being forced to catch up with the rest of the world. And I think that's where we are now. In terms of going back to normal, I very much doubt that. Will we go back to our offices? Oh, yes, I suspect so. But I think there might be just one small business somewhere thinking, maybe I really don't need that space that I think I need. And maybe I can just sell online. So things are changing, and my suspicion is there is no going back to normal. So and that's a good thing, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good thing, but we see that it's a reality, it's an imminent reality. And now one thing we now start to think about is what are the etiquettes that will help remote working? Because in reality that, like we said earlier, not everybody is prepared, which means that some people will be successful at it and some may not be. So what etiquette or what structures do you think would help push remote working or make it successful? So how does etiquette fit to remote working?
That's a very good question, Olalua. First things first, I always start from self, right? One of the most important things to know as regards remote working is discipline. One of the reasons why employers want to see you in the office is because they're not sure if you allow them work from home, that they probably be Netflixing and chilling instead of working, right? That's a big, and sleeping all day. So the number one thing is discipline, right? You have to be very disciplined to wake up every day and work, even though you are in your house. That's one. And then you have to be collaborative, because you will find that even now that you're working remotely, you need collaboration even more, right? You need to be able to leverage technology to scale. There's so many technological functions that you can use. You can collaborate on a doc via Google, Microsoft. You need to be able to have, so digital literacy becomes very important, right? You need to, when somebody sends you an invitation for a meeting on Zoom, You need to first and foremost know what Zoom is and how to even log on and be effective, right? You need to know that there's such a thing called Microsoft Teams. You need to know about Google Meet. You know, you need to become technologically savvy, because you can't work from home and be effective if you cannot leverage technology. And then back to the point on discipline, and you need to be very agile also. If you are following modern management trends, you will know that agility is the buzzword. Everybody's talking about agility for good reason, because it's because we live in uncertain times. So you need to be agile. You need to be the kind of person who is disciplined, who is collaborative, who is agile. And then I'm going to talk about something that we sometimes don't mention, but it's extremely important. As you work remotely, especially for those job seekers that will start to get opportunities outside of Africa or even outside of your country, for example, you need to become culturally intelligent. You're not going to succeed ethically if you're not culturally intelligent. So you need to become aware. I've gotten an offer from Pakistan, for example. How do people in Pakistan behave? I've gotten an offer from India, for example, or I've gotten an offer from the United States. What's appropriate behavior? You know, how do they greet in meetings, right? How do they open meetings? How do they chair meetings? You know, you need to become aware of all of that so that you can be effective. Guys, it's not only about having the technical skills anymore. You need to know, for you to succeed, it is emotional intelligence. It is all those soft skills that we tend to ignore that will make you successful as a remote worker.
Okay, good. That's really amazing. And in fact, just to note, yesterday was World Youth Skills Day, and Precious just mentioned so many tools, softwares we need to learn that would help our remote working. So these are the kinds of mindsets we should start giving ourselves, and the orientation we should have about remote working. So now, looking at our homes and external environment, is there a mindset we need to build around remote working in those areas? So, for example, we're talking about remote working, which means you are not working from the office. Now, you are not working from the office. What's the mindset young people or people generally should have about working from other locations? I'm not sure. Now, is it limited to working from home? Because I think, is there a difference between remote working and working from home? And if there's a difference, what mindset should we have around these things? Yes.
Okay. So it's a lot of different questions, but I'll go from bottom up. Okay. So is there a difference between remote working and working from home?
Yes.
Work from home is one of the types of remote working. So for example, I can be reporting to a team in the US.
Okay, seems like we're having a little network glitch. We're in Nigeria, but it's going to get better. Yeah.
And be working off remotely in Lagos.
Okay. Okay, so I think I'm getting the explanation she's giving. That working from home is not exactly working remotely. For example, the example she gave that you can be working with a team in India and you are working from Lagos, which is sort of working remotely, right? And not exactly working from home. So our understanding of working remotely is not necessarily working from home, right? So what the next question now is, what's the mindset we should have around these things, both working remotely and working from home, which is similar. So working from home is almost like working remotely, but there are other options of working remotely. So now, going beyond this, I'm sure some of us have comments, questions before Precious joins us back. I can see a question that says, how do we balance this remote working in the education section in a country like ours, where the level of development and exposure is still very low? Very good question. How do we balance this remote working? So I think the person is probably talking about infrastructure. For example, we're working remotely and we're having internet challenges, right? How do you balance it? How are you able to meet with the realities and challenges of working remotely despite the infrastructural challenges. And I think a key thing is just preparation and research. So for example, people are still getting hired. People are still getting taking jobs. For example, as Jobberman, I would say in the space of this last 3 months, as a company, we've probably hired over 10 to 15 members of staff. And these people were hired remotely, onboarded remotely, and they are now working. So despite these challenges in the country, I think it's for you to prepare, like we said earlier, for you to know, oh, what are the skills I need? What are the resources I need to make progress? And how do I get them? Do we get? So yes, even in life, you will probably never have everything you need. As a country, we may probably not have easily everything we need. But I think it's for you to now sit back. Yes, this is what I want to achieve. I'm realizing that I need to work from home. So to work from home, what tools do I need? Or is it, are you asking this question for your business? The government has said we cannot go to work. However, I still have to pay salaries. I still have to make progress. My business has to move. So what tools, what skills, what resources do I need to remain effective while working remotely or while collaborating? That's another thing she said, collaborating. We need to learn how to collaborate. There may be some resources that you don't have as an organization or as a person, but there's a sister organization that has. There are some other people that have these things. How do you collaborate? You have this, we have this. Let's come together so that we both can drive the results and get success for our organizations, right? So one key thing is collaboration, and we've seen that happen globally. We've seen that happen even in Nigeria. We have seen companies come together to share resources, to share information, so that they both can survive and they both can make progress. So one key thing in achieving balance despite the challenges is collaboration and preparation and research. I think that's the answer to that question. So another question says, now, what is the difference between working from home and working remotely? I think we already answered that question. Working from home is like you're working from your house, but working remotely means that you are not necessarily at the location for work. For example, your office is in, so good, this is an example. I know someone working for an organization that is in the US. However, works with a team, and they all are working in an office in Nigeria for a US-based company. That is working remotely, not necessarily working from home, right? So let's understand working remotely and working from home. Home means you are in your house, but remote means that you are probably in that location, which is different from co-work. So let's take another question. Someone says, in the area where there is poor or no network, what can we do to complement working remotely? So I think the answer to that question again is research. And if you do your research well enough, you know that for my area, this is what works best. This is how best to work. These are the tools I should be working with. This is the network I should be working with, right? And then you implement that. Or if you've done your research and you realize that, oh, this area is not going to benefit me, what changes can you make? What partnerships can you do? Which people can you work with to ensure you still get those results? So I think that's one key thing we should realize. Now, someone says, wow, if I'm not digitally literate, what do I do now? Where can I go and learn at a time like this? And the answer is really simple. You are on Facebook. You know how to use Facebook. To an extent, you are digitally literate. But remember, Precious said something, you can always Google anything. So if you are not digitally literate, probably there are some digital tools or digital skills you need. There are so many options. One, you can either try to learn it yourself or pay a third party, like an organization, to teach you. For example, at Jobberman, we are presently running a soft skills curriculum. Now, that is not digital literacy, right? However, it's one of the core skills young people need. So we're running a free soft skills curriculum. That's an example of somewhere you can go to get skills. Now, there are so many organizations that are teaching digital skills. Google is one of them. If you want to learn digital skills, there are free courses on Google. You can go there and learn digital skills. However, even if it's not Google, there are so many other organizations you can find out online to learn and acquire digital skills. That's given. Now, what else? Someone says, okay, that's an answer. Working remotely is a type of, working from home is a type of working remotely. Now, let's go to the next question before Precious joins us. What are the biggest challenges organizations are facing with remote working? So now we've defined working from home, we've defined remote working. What are the challenges companies are facing with remote working? And before Precious joins us, I can give a few examples we are facing here at Jobberman. One is the level of productivity, right? So for example, while we were at work, this team or these people were performing at this level. They were delivering this level of results. Now that they are working from home, are they delivering that same level of results? That's a challenge organizations are having with working remotely. Another thing is communication. So when we were at the office, I can easily see a teammate and say, oh, Tolu, I need you to work on this document for me. Or Tolu, there's a meeting at this particular time. But now we don't see each other physically. And one key challenge is how do we communicate easily, quickly. So if I'm in your front, I can easily say, oh, please work on this for me. But if I cannot see you, that is a challenge, right? So another key challenge is communication. Do we have other options? So let's take examples. You were working from the office before, now you are working at home. What are the challenges you are having as an organization? Please share your answers, your experiences with us in the comment section, and let's discuss them. Then we'll try to give answers to this question. So the first thing is what are the challenges? Good. So we're going to the next question. Yaba, we said, what are the challenges organizations are facing in remote working? And I highlighted two from my experience with us in Jobberman. I said communication and productivity. That's teams delivering to the level they were delivering while they were at work. So are there deeper, high-level insights you want to give us to those challenges or even more challenges organizations are facing with remote working?
Yeah, I mean, I can say for Jobberman, for example, we're doing better now than we did at this time last year. So definitely remote working is working for us for sure in terms of productivity. We don't have that challenge. However, some of the things that can happen is working too much. So myself, for example, and I'm sure many of my teammates can testify, there is no barrier between people just keep fixing meetings. So you can wake up and you are in a meeting from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the night because
I can relate.
You can relate, exactly. They can't see you. So people are fixing, so people are working too much. And then there's no stop time. You know, remember when you're going to the office, you wake up and then you go to work and then you're coming home. I'm done at X time and I'm coming home. I find that when I was working from the office, I worked less hours than I'm working now. It's almost like you're working 24 hours non-stop. So that's a very big challenge that a lot of organizations struggle with. And then prioritizing work also. There's also the tendency, and for me as a mom, my family has to remind me of that. Oh, great! I see Isa's joined us. Good to see you.
You're welcome, very welcome, sir. That's our next panel speaker from Kano. Okay, you'll join the conversation. We can continue.
All right. So those are some of the challenges. You're prioritizing work too much, or it might just be you are lonely. I've got feedback, and you might be surprised. Some people prefer working with other people, right? Some people prefer to work, and then they can see their colleagues, etc. But yeah, you are working, especially those of us that live alone. It can be a real issue. So I would really encourage us to find time to connect with other people because mental health issues are real and it's something that we should take seriously. There's so many others. Olaoluwa mentioned communication and he's right. Sometimes when you're working remotely, because you can't see me, you don't have a sense of my body language. A lot of things, sometimes we're fighting over emails or we're fighting over messages. People are worried, unnecessarily, people are stressed. So those are some of the challenges. Unlike in the office where you can just walk up to me and have a conversation, or in any other organization.
Okay, great. Now how we've highlighted these problems. What are the tools or ways or structures we can actually solve this problem? Remember, we're talking about etiquette. What are the ways we can solve this problem? We highlighted loneliness, productivity, communication, distraction, working too much. So what etiquette or what structures can we put in place to solve these problems?
Yeah, I think one of the first ones, working too much, I'll use myself as an example. Simple strategies, stop working too much. So what I've tried to do is to organize my life. So if you go to my calendar, you would even find things like spending time with my family. It's
Yeah,
on
I
my
see that.
calendar, right? So yeah, it's important because you will be surprised how you're not even aware. And then I said this is dedicated work time. So you have to now start to schedule your time. You have to become aware that you are still in control, right? Like my line manager will say, Precious, you are in control. So you're still in control, and then you can regulate your time. It's about agility and not walking around the clock, right? It's about agility. So you
Agility.
want to be more agile. And yes, so around you prioritizing work, you need to find a way to be deliberate about work-life balance, guys. You're not going to thrive if you don't have successful relationships that are, that are some sort of foundation for you. So for me, I prioritize. So I try to balance. When I'm off work, I'm off work, right? When I'm with my family, it's focus time. And then about loneliness, for those of us who are single, living alone, or maybe not even single, sometimes you have family members and,
Yes.
some of us go to work to get away from our family members. Some of us go to
So
work so that we can leave our husbands at home. Now they're telling you to work from home. No, not just husbands or wives. Before guys will say no. Why is husband the problematic thing? So your husband or your wife, right? But now you have to work. And some of you might have a small home where you share the same workspaces. Two of you working from home. What can
and
you
I
do?
still have
Number one,
the,
you might
the boys
get some
challenge.
value. I don't know if Lisa is trying to get a word in. You might get some value from seeing a therapist. I know this is something we don't talk about a lot in our culture, but trust
And
me, if you want to live
I
life, you
can
want to
hear you.
try,
Can
find
you hear
a
me?
mental health therapist or a marriage therapist, just somebody to help you walk through that relationship because you're going to be in the same space with the person, right? You can go for walks, wear your face mask, and then go for walks. Take breaks. Take breaks like you would in the office, 12 to 1 a.m. or whatever. Take a break so that you can maybe, stretch a little bit. But you need to deal with loneliness. Reach out to friends, connect with friends. There are some friends that you pick up the phone and you speak and they're like, from the hello, you're already there. So please don't be an island. Don't be the kind of person who everybody looking at the world with suspicion, right? Have friends and connect to people. So I think that. And then in terms of communication, get feedback. Get feedback. So I'm communicating with Olaoluwa, for example. I need to get feedback from him. How am I communicating? How are you receiving what I'm hearing? Get feedback. Feedback is the breakfast of champions, right? You can't go win championships without feedback. So let's not get worried about, oh, they're going to critique me, oh, they're going to say this. No. So get feedback and continue to improve.
Okay, good. Now let's go to Mr. Issa Gaba from CITAD. I guess he has a few insights for us. So, sir, all the while we've been talking about workplace etiquette, and we've highlighted some issues organizations are having with people working remotely. So we're just trying to give solutions, the kind of solutions we think would work for organizations. And the problems we highlighted, we talked about communication, we talked about loneliness, we talked about working too much, we talked about distraction. So, sir, from your experience with CITAD and even Northern Nigeria, how does remote working work? And how are you surviving and getting results despite remote working? Can you hear us, sir? Okay, not sure you can hear us, but we just want to have a perspective from Northern Nigeria, from CITAD. How does remote working go in Kano and Kaduna? And what insights do you have for us as regards remote working? So I guess if you can't hear us, we can go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, then. I think he's trying to say something. I can't hear.
Yeah, I think.
Probably a sound issue.
Yeah,
We can't hear you.
yeah. I think we might just need to let him know offline that he's not audible, and yeah, it's such a shame because I know we have great insights from him.
Okay, okay, great. So let's take it further now. Okay, okay. Now let's dive in. Now, further, we've tried to give some of the solutions. Now, how can team leaders and employers facilitate this process? So we've talked about the problems and we've tried to develop some solutions. So what's the role of team leaders and employers in making sure that their people or their organizations are able to drive results despite these challenges?
Yeah, I think again, right? Because when we talk about things like work-life balance, when you talk about people dealing with over prioritizing work, it needs to be organization driven. And if there's one word to let employers of labor know, I don't know if we have such people on this call, but even as a team lead myself, it's very important for you to care about the well-being of your team. It's only people who are well that can win championships, right? It's only when people, and there's something amazing, and you can try it. When you're well rested, when you're in a good frame of mind, you don't need sometimes 2 hours to solve a problem. But you see, when you're not doing well internally, you might be working at the same problem for weeks. You might be working at the same problem for weeks, but because you're not doing well. So it's very, very important. I mean, I personally, if a team member sends me a message after 5 p.m., I'm just going to ignore you. And that's code for please take a rest and don't call me until this morning, because there's really no point. You cannot, I talk about the quadrants a lot, time management quadrants, and being in quadrant 1. You cannot be a successful organization, take it from me, if you are always in quadrant 1. If you are always putting out fires, you are not going to be sustainable long term, because you have high turnover. Your best people will leave, because the thing is, when people know what they're worth, they will leave you. They will leave you for organizations where they are appreciated, right? Your best people will leave, and you will have, and if people stay in those kind of toxic culture, it will be mediocres, people that can't succeed elsewhere and are just stuck with you. And those are not the kind of people that will help you go to where you want to go.
Yeah,
so it's very important for organizations to realize, no, they can't help you win championships. They're just going to help you collect their salary. And that's what you don't want, right? You want people adding value, but they'll stay there until the day you close shop, and then they'll leave. But you don't need those kind of people. So organizations have to be deliberate about pushing work-life balance, even as we work remotely. Organizations have to start to champion mental health issues as well for their employees, because organizations have to start to champion some of these things that we're talking about. Because if you have somebody who is well working for you, somebody who is motivated working for you, then you are sure that you're going to be meeting your targets as an organization on a consistent basis. So it has to be driven from the top.
Okay, good. Good. So now generally, do you see a world, or even in Nigeria, where there is generally more remote working? So finally, we know remote working has come to stay. But as a country, as industries, do you see a world where we would meet the demands for remote working? Because one thing we know that is, yes, there's remote working, it has come to stay. There are challenges, and we are trying to solve these challenges. So do you see a world where we actually go beyond these challenges and have more widespread remote working across the country?
So we've been very slow as a nation in catching up with a lot of things. So it becomes very difficult to predict accurately. But something that I know that has worked well for us is when we've been forced to the river, like the proverbial horse. And that's where we are now with COVID. We almost don't have a choice. Andela, one of nine, have announced that they're going to be working 100% remotely. I suspect that there will be more disruptions like that, especially around the tech industries. So we'll find more companies who will do that. I also suspect that SMEs, especially those who sell online, e-commerce businesses, will choose to work from home, and just be 100% remote. I suspect that will happen. In terms of our traditional institutions, I think we're still a long road from there, but eventually that's where the world is going, and we've been playing catch up. My hope is that at some point we will be more strategic in our approach. I cannot guarantee that, but I think that we will just have to move with the wheel, so to speak, because organizations are realizing that it's cheaper. The biggest challenge for organizations in Nigeria around remote working, from the things that I hear from employers, is the discipline mindset. So people do not trust that people can stay at home and work effectively. And deliver results. But once the likes of a Jobberman, for example, is doing it effectively, and then you have an Andela, when people start to see this result long term, I think behavior will change eventually.
Yeah, and I know we've been doing so much amazing work at Jobberman. I was saying at the beginning of the session that over the period of this lockdown, we've employed over 15 staff and engaged them, and they're a full part of the system. So which also means that there are many job seekers out there trying to sell themselves to organizations like Jobberman and other companies who are hiring. So the question is, how do you sell yourself? Remember, we said organizations are weary of people who just want to come and will not be able to deliver results. So if you think you've watched this session, you've realized that remote working has come to stay. Now, how do I position and sell myself to organizations like Jobberman and high-performing organizations who are still hiring in times like this? So how do job seekers go about that?
That's a very good question. And I need everybody to gather here. You know the way you say when you want to take a selfie, because this is probably the best thing that you will hear. Yeah, come close, let's take this selfie. This is probably the best thing you will hear here. Listen, your digital footprint is extremely important. Young people, listen to me. Your digital footprint is everything. Since I returned to Nigeria, every single job I've gotten, I was, head-on-set on LinkedIn. Every single job, not one I had to apply for. Your digital footprint is everything. Across all social media handles, who are you? Who are you to people? And sometimes we don't know, even our friends. A lot of the training jobs that I did with multinational, it was people recommending me. It was people saying, I know Precious and this is what she can do. But you see, many of us are so preoccupied with savage responses. I have to give a savage reply. I like examples. So I'm going to give you one example of somebody who, reached out to me sometime last year. She's one of my mentees. And she wrote something online and had no clue that she was insulting a particular CEO that she was going to go for an interview for, 3 months down the line. Our insult was so savage. We're really good in this generation in delivering those sort of things, that the man remembered her. Of everything that had been said, he remembered that particular one because it was painful. But she had moved on, because some of us, social media is just fun for us.
Yeah,
we're not thinking about it. There's a post, you can't help yourself, and then you very quickly go and put something. And then as soon as she got through the door, he said, there is no way. Not only will you not work with my organization, I would not allow friends work with you. And let me say something about the way these things work. There is, at some level, as you grow in your career, you will find that you know people in a lot of places, right? So there's really no, even when you want to exit an organization, you have to be very mindful. Because you say, oh, I'm leaving Precious team, I'm going to do it. And then you exit. And then you go somewhere else and it's Precious friend. Hi. And then they're like, no, this person was a very horrible person. Please do not, and those kind of things. So your digital footprint is everything. Before you send that post, think about it. And now you can start to brand yourself. You can start to craft your brand. Many of us are just, I get emails from job seekers all the time. Please, I need a job. Why should I hire you? I'm not a charity, right? I'm not nice like that. What's the value? What are you bringing to the table? I'll give you another example because I love examples. One time I wanted to do a consulting job for an organization, right? I went there. I sat with them. They were not looking for a consultant, by the way. They didn't think they needed one. But I looked at their entire, I did a value chain analysis for them. I looked at their business process and I saw that I could improve it. And I gave them figures. If you allow me to do X, Y, Z, in the next 3 months, I would have taken you from 10% to 25%. And the CEO was like, where did this person? If you do that in 3 months, he said, in fact, if you do it in 6 months, I will double the amount you're asking. And I did it in 3 months and I got it. So you have to now become more creative in terms of how you are looking for things. Because many people, oh, please, I need a job. Nobody's looking for that. But there are people, while you are begging for a job, there are other people getting offers and they're turning it down. So you need to start to find out what these people are doing right. And then you need to start to have role models. And I'm not just talking the musicians now, bless them, they're doing great work, you know, but I'm talking about role models. If you're, unless of course you're a good, you know, musician, shout out to Burna Boy. But if you're not, and you're not looking to start a career in that, you need to start to look for who are your role models. Who do I want to be like? I want to be like this person. What qualifications do they have? You know, what's their career journey? What's their career story? And you need to become close to them. Some of us need to remain in some organizations where we are and they're not paying, because I get all these messages on LinkedIn, they're not paying me more, I want to go to somewhere. If you have, some of us need to start crafting our career plan. Sometimes you're in an organization to learn so that your next move, you accelerate very quickly, right? So you take that and then you learn what you need to learn and then you move. It's not always about money, especially when you're just starting out. Then for some other people, it's not about learning. You know that I'm bringing too much to the table and I deserve to get this. Then you state your claim. And you have to be very confident as you do this. What builds confidence? It's knowledge. If you're not knowledgeable, if you're not sure of what you bring to the table, you're not going to be confident. So please take advantage. There are a lot of free training going around right now. I don't know if it will continue, whether on LinkedIn, on Jobberman, everybody is offering great value for free. I want to see you take, I saw a job seeker reach out to me. And I saw over 10 presentations that right? Because I'm like, this is the kind of human being you want in your team. Where has she found time to do all of these? Why people are still saying, mother, yeah, but don't listen to me. No, but I think you should, right? I think you should. Yeah. I think you should become very serious about your life now.
Yeah, and to just add to that, on LinkedIn, I think it was last week, I saw a lady from India, not Nigeria, and she sent over 100 certificates she had gotten in the period of this lockdown. I was like, wow, this lady sat down and was taking courses back to back. So there are so many opportunities for young people to get upskilled and to sell yourself effectively during these times. So let's just take a few questions from the people watching. So if you have any question around all the things we've discussed today, around workplace etiquette, around productivity, around workplace ethics, or around how you can position yourself as a young person, please ask. We'll take 1 or 2 questions, then we call it a day for today. So we've said so many things today. I hope we have been taking notes. I have taken my notes here, and I can give you a little bit recap of what we've done today. Or just send in your question. Anything you think we've not answered as regards our topic: workplace etiquette, remote working, productivity, selling yourself. Okay, I'm trying to follow for any questions. But let me just do a little bit recap of what we've done today. So initially, we started with the definition of etiquette and workplace ethics. So we talked about culture, how etiquette is generally what is accepted in a geographical location, how people behave. And Precious gave us an example of an organization she went and she saw a young lady in, I think, a short jean and a top. And that's the modern workplace. So we talked about the innovations and the updates we have in the modern workplace. We also talked about remote working and how it has come to stay. We talked about organizations who have started doing these things as far back as 5 years ago and why most likely organizations will continue with it. Why? Because they are delivering results. They are realizing that they are getting as much results though they are not working from work, which is something that is key. Also, we looked at the difference between remote working and working from home. We said working from home is when you are working from your house. And we said remote working is when you are working with people you are not in the same location with. For example, you have a team in India and you are working in a small office somewhere in Kaduna or Lagos. That's some sort of remote working. And you can also be working from home, which is working from home and is related to remote working. Also, we talked about the challenges organizations are having with remote working. We talked about communication. We talked about loneliness. We talked about productivity. We talked about working too much. We talked about distractions. Then we gave solutions. We talked about tools you can use. We talked about how you can go online to learn these skills. How managers and leaders can put structures in place to help team members deliver results. Then we went to talking about how you can sell yourself in these times. Now, let me take a few questions. So I can see one. What can I do to discard procrastination from my work life? Which is very key. We know Precious talked about working from home being some people just being indisciplined, sleeping around and not working. So this person is asking, what can I do to discard procrastination? Let's take that. Then we'll take it. Two more questions and we call it off. Yeah.
So that's a very good question. First thing, I almost said go take the Jobberman soft skills, but the course last night. Procrastination is something that happens to the place to go, because many of us, when we fail at something or when we assume that we're at something, we become so judgmental, and that's why you're judging yourself for procrastinating, waste time, so to speak. So the first thing is for you to refrain from negative self-talk. Admit and say, you know what, I'm a procrastinator and I need help. Not schedule. I'm talking about scheduling. You need to become aware of how to manage your time. So I wake up in the morning, do what I call a time audit. So 6 o'clock to this, what am I doing?
Okay, so I hope we got what Precious was saying. She said two key things. She said you need to first admit it. You need to admit that you're a procrastinator, and that's something many people do. When you don't admit there is a problem, you really are not solving it, or you really cannot solve it. So the first thing is to admit, then do a time audit. So you now sit down. What did I do between this time and this time, right? You start to audit your time. So if you realize that when you pay attention to a problem and you are trying to solve it, then you are self-aware. Okay, you are checking back between this time and this time. What did I do? Over time, you would realize that you are doing better. Why? Because you are auditing yourself. You are telling yourself, how did I spend this time? So I've realized I have this problem. I've realized that I don't get as much done. Then with that mindset, you start to try to problem solve, right? So I'll just provide giving them what you said. Admit procrastination, then time audit. Try to audit how you are spending your time. Yeah.
Very important. Very important. You be surprised how much time you spend doing nothing productive. Many of us get through the day without doing anything productive. So once you get that information, you now create what's called an action plan. What can I do?
Okay, so she added, after your time audit, you have an action plan. Then you follow through. So admit you're a procrastinator, audit your time. So when you see how you are spending your time, then you have an action plan. So between this time and this time, this is what I'll do. Between this time and this time, this is what I'll do. We'll take the final question for today, and that will be it for today. The final question is okay, so one final question is, how do I get back to the workforce? So I think one key thing you need to do, I think we've already answered that question. How do I get back to the workforce? You resigned because of pregnancy, trying to get a job. Now, I'm trying to read the question. And it seems, trying to get a job and it seems off scraps. So I think one thing you need to do, like Precious said earlier, is to sell yourself. She said most of the jobs she's gotten, she was reached out to. So one key thing you need to do is to be able to sell yourself. And I think you may want to join the Jobberman soft skills training. In that soft skills training, we have what we call the employability skills session, which tells you how to get a job. Do you understand? So one key thing I would recommend to you is just join the Jobberman soft skills training. On our employability module, we take so many things: job search strategies, scam jobs, writing a CV, selling yourself on social media, and so many things. Then you will learn how you can take yourself from where you are to where you want to be. So that will be it for today. I'll just share with you, like I said, Jobberman is Nigeria's biggest employer of labor, and every single day, every single second, there are jobs on the platform to apply for. So I'll share with you some of the jobs that are on the Jobberman platform presently. So if you qualify for any of these opportunities, then apply, right? So anyway, before you can apply for jobs, you have to have an account with Jobberman. So I think the first thing is for you to go to www.jobberman.com/customer/sign-up. It will be put in the comment section. The first thing is to go to Jobberman's website and create your job seeker profile. Then you can apply for jobs. Even if you don't apply for some jobs, once you have a job seeker profile on Jobberman, we would push out some job openings to you. So for example, Horseback comes to us and says, I need 500 people with these skills. We'll go to our platform and say, BC is here. She has this, she meets the requirements. We will reach out to BC and say, are you interested in this job offer? So you get two advantages, two different things from signing up on Jobberman. The opportunity to apply for jobs and the opportunity to be reached out to by Jobberman for available jobs, right? So some of the jobs we have Proton International. They are hiring over 350 people full-time, different industries. So please check that. We have Novatia. They are that, and this is remote work, like we're talking about. In case you can speak more than one language, Yoruba, English, Spanish, German, or even Nigerian languages, Igbo, and so many other languages. You can get employed with Novatia translations. There are 7th group. They're looking for core members. There's city tutors. They're looking for private tutors. There's Pocket Farm in Abuja. There's Verify Me. Almost anybody can apply to Verify Me. There's Cornerstone Insurance. They're looking for virtual agents nationally across the country. That is an offer you may just want to take up. So for example, the person that said she was pregnant and she resigned. If you go to the Jobberman platform, there are so many jobs there. Just look for what you can do while you keep selling yourself for other offers. We have Etiquette Limited. We have Saba Works. We have YD Agency. We have Rekben Vineyard Limited. So there are so many opportunities on the Jobberman website. Please sign up and start applying. Also, we're going to have what we call employer spotlights. So apart from having these sessions where we come to tell you about the skills you need, about the competencies you need, we are going to bring employers to you. So in the next few weeks, just watch out. We'll have sessions with, for example, someone from MTN to come and tell you how to get into MTN, or how to get it. I'm not saying we're going to bring MTN. I'm telling you we're going to bring employers who are going to tell you about their companies and industries. MTN may just be one. Just stay tuned. And they'll tell you how you can get in, what skills you need, what certificates you need, what they are looking out for. So please stay tuned. Also, you can connect with us. Just send us an email to our email is connect@jobberman.com. Connect@jobberman.com. Our website is www.jobberman.com/youth-engagement. Then we are on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So please reach out to us and we'll have your questions answered. That will be it for today. Like Jobberman page and put on notifications so that you know when we have our next webinar or live event. Thanks for coming today. See you next time. Yeah.